Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. I'm joined today by Sterling. Sterling, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sterling Parker, I'm the SVP over our global technical support and services and learning teams at Ivanti. I have been with the company now for almost 14 years.
Hmm.
So quite a long tenure with the company
Hmm.
and started off taking phone calls with customers. I was on the frontline
Hmm.
team and supporting our endpoint management products. At the time, it was called Landesk. So I've been here through several iterations, a lot of acquisitions, and have really done almost every role that I now have purview
Hmm.
over. But been in the tech industry for pretty much my entire career and
Hmm.
started off initially in college thinking that I was going to be an airline pilot, and tech took my heart. So I ended up
Hmm.
staying in the tech industry and I've not looked back ever since. But
Hmm.
yeah, lots of excitement with the job today and lots of challenges too. And yeah, excited
Hmm.
to speak through those with you today.
So obviously, ChatGPT hit it big in November 2022, and I know that you've started to introduce it into your customer support work. Tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing with customer support internally. How have you decided what you want to focus on in introduction, and how has the introduction process gone internally as you go through the change management process?
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've actually started using some AI and machine learning elements
Mhm.
within support specifically. In fact, we made the decision back in 2018 to start integrating machine learning into
Mm.
that support consumption process for our customers. And what really led to that was ultimately from my seat, we wanted to be able to increase satisfaction for that customer so they could have a
Mhm.
better self-service experience. They could get
Mhm.
answers to their questions, especially those lower effort questions that were
Mhm.
repeatable and things that we had already documented behind. But two, allowing the ability for me to deflect volume from my teams so that
Mhm.
they were able to focus on what I would call higher fidelity effort,
Mm.
higher value effort for those
Mhm.
customers. And essentially, the first baked solution of that was when the customers going into the support portal or our partners
Mhm.
as well, they're also consuming support from my team, is that we look at what's being documented in the case just prior
Mhm.
to submission. The customer or partner, they would describe what the issue is. Machine learning would step in and it would review, hey, who is this person? Where have they
Mhm.
navigated before reaching the support portal? Where have they consumed self-service prior? What are they entitled to for the software entitlements, et
Mhm.
cetera? And then it would try to make a suggestion to an answer or to a
Mhm.
question and point that customer to that
Mhm.
documentation. Give like 5 or 6 links. It wouldn't generate anything from the Gen AI perspective, but it would at least point to links right at the
Mhm.
time. And that led to initially about a 10 to 12% deflection rate for my teams. It yielded a lot of
Mhm.
value, but we really wanted to take it to the next level, which was the Gen AI piece, right? So this is now us using that language model that we've been building since 2018, converting it to be generative, not
Mhm.
just in the support portal, but now on our community sites. So if you go to the forums, if you go to the
Mhm.
community sites, the customer, even if they're not logged in, they can ask a question and it's
Mhm.
going to generate a response based off of that
Mhm.
federated search mechanism. And it'll look at all areas within our
Mhm.
product documentation, customer questions on the forums, any kind of KB articles that my teams have built or generated. It'll generate the response in
Mhm.
that you would expect from like a Gen AI chatbot, right? And then it links to where it's referencing that data, so customers
Mhm.
can double click. It can also help generate, the
Mhm.
customers can actually help train that search to give it a value of, hey, this was really
Mhm.
helpful, or no, this wasn't helpful at all. In fact, you led me astray. And So there's some interesting things behind that that now has augmented by team's role and them focusing on making sure that the AI is
Mhm.
delivering the experience that we need for our customer. So
Mhm. Okay, so that's helpful. So tell me a little bit more about how your team has been dealing with this situation. Of course, your team previously, that was a human element, and humans are often uncomfortable when generative AI is taking their roles or what they perceive as their roles. There's a resistance to it. People are anxious about job loss. How did your team respond to it?
really good question. They
Mm,
initially, because we're kind of all tech minded at heart, they were really excited
mm,
about it. And I
mm,
know in some areas outside of the technical, there's been some fear of, hey, is this going to replace
mm,
me? Is this making my job redundant? And I liked what you had written in your entrepreneur.com article around
mm,
AI performing close or even exceeding that human creativity piece,
mm,
but that you reference the need for a human level evaluation of what's been generated to
mm,
not just help mitigate the risk of what's been generated for that respective business, but it also helps take that individual to that next level of innovation.
mm,
And that's what I found was the response from my team initially was one, is this really going to bring value? It's
mm,
exciting to test some new tech and to get the buzz around AI
mm,
to actually be hands on and to have it deliver something for me. That's huge. So initially it was curiosity, a moment of
mm,
curiosity, then turned into it's part of my day job. Second to that is now I just can't live without it, right?
mm,
Because we're using not just that Gen AI search to help our customers, but
mm,
we're also leveraging AI internally too to help do case summations, to help do
mm,
telephony conversations that are
mm,
summarized and it'll auto populate who are the owners of
mm.
any actions we're talking through
Yes.
or that we're spoken to on an interaction. And you can imagine, especially in the support and services world, where you sometimes have technical conversations that'll last hours,
Mm,
right?
mm,
If it's a troubleshooting session, if it's a
mm,
scoping session for a customer, if you're trying to implement the solution for the first time and you're doing a full day's work. And at the end of the day, before AI, my team had to go through and spend sometimes hours recapping what was discussed,
mm,
documenting what was actually reviewed.
mm.
And that for them was just what I would call low fidelity work. It was
Yeah.
frustrating work for them, right? And this is where it helped convert the sentiment
Mm,
from a little bit of fear, mostly excitement, to is it really going to bring me value?
mm,
And then third, yeah, I just can't live without it, right? This is part of my
mm,
day job and it makes me happier. It brings me more job
mm,
satisfaction because now I don't have to do that lower effort work or that lower level work that was distracting from what I really wanted to be focused on.
mm. Okay, that makes sense. Now, one of the concerns with generative AI, as we've seen from a number of chatbots, is hallucinatory responses. And of course, you're dealing with customers, and I'm sure some of your own team members were concerned about managing the risks and the biases and hallucinations. What have you done internally to address the risks of bias and hallucination in responses to customers?
Yeah, so first is what we do in my team. We have what are called KCS coaches. Now, KCS is the knowledge centered support philosophy, and that's the framework behind knowledge centered support.
Mhm,
And what the team is doing with the generative pieces is it's
mhm,
training and monitoring
mhm,
every single interaction and every single rating that gets through, both positive and
mhm,
negative, from those generative responses to ensure that where it's pulling that documentation from, that it's not making assumptions, that it's not
mhm,
hallucinating, that it's not creating policies on a whim.
mhm,
I know that was a popular story where Air Canada was using a Gen AI chatbot and it created a
mhm,
bereavement policy on the fly. and so we're working very tactically right now within every
mhm,
single response to ensure that what is being provided is the expected result.
mhm,
And it is a heavy lift right now, but as you know, with AI, it continually improves, it continually gets better. So we expect that lift to lessen. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also been helpful for my team to understand that your fear of perhaps this AI replacing you is now no longer founded on truth because you're seeing and working with it
Mm-hmm.
daily and you're more hands-on with it. You're now training it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're now part of that process and you're seeing those efforts and what's impacting from it. But you're right, it is a big risk and
Mm-hmm.
it is requiring a lot of just human focus behind it to make sure that we're not uh, allowing it to hallucinate, allowing it to make bias, that kind of thing. But it also is very helpful that we're all currently using just our internal LLM,
Mm-hmm.
and so that allows us to be more in control. Whereas where you're using
Mm-hmm.
the broader public LLMs, it's a bigger task, right? And it's a bigger
Yeah.
risk, I would believe there. So
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier that when you were using the machine learning model, it saved something like 10% of your time. That makes me wonder, what kind of metrics are you using to measure the impact of generative AI, more broadly, generative AI in particular, in that you're using for your team? What are you measuring actually?
yeah, so I've got kind of I have the standard what I would call support services and learning metrics around
Mhm.
customer sat. So whenever there's an interaction with the AI, or if it's a marriage of the AI and human interaction. So if
Mhm.
AI, for example, helped create and generate the case for my team, and then my team stepped in and then
Mhm.
ultimately owned the solution, then we track a CSAT metric behind it. The biggest KPI that I look at right now on the support side specifically is that deflection percentage,
Mhm.
meaning that when did that Gen AI tech step in to
Mhm.
prevent a customer from having to go to that next step of needing to speak to
Mhm.
a human? And that's an interesting metric for me. So what are my
Mhm.
deflection percentages into my support team?
Mhm.
Other ones would be, so for example, on our learning teams, we're using an internal AI that will actually take recordings and for trainings and for onboarding for
Mhm.
learning paths, and it'll automatically go in and generate the captions. It'll generate the
Mhm.
localization. It'll do the what it would predict as the splits and dividers within
Mhm.
that recording. It'll also, based off of the content, when you're plugging everything into a learning path, let's say you've got 26 pages of learning paths that you're taking through that, and you've
Mhm.
created that content. It'll go through, and in a matter of milliseconds, it'll generate quizzes, exams,
Mhm.
ways that will interface that user more with the
Mhm.
learning, that previously to implementing that AI would have taken my team, 4 days worth
Mhm.
of effort for one learning path to
Mhm.
generate everything end to end. So what I'll track is, well, how big is the learning path?
Mhm.
And now how quickly can we get it to be procured and finished and finalized,
Mhm.
ready for go live, versus when we weren't using that. And that gives
Mhm.
me a sense of where the efficiency gains
Mhm.
within the AI implementation. That one's a little tougher to nail down, right? It's easier on the support side for me to say, well, strictly, I can see what AI is deflecting
Mhm.
from my team. I can then
Mhm.
calculate that into a cost savings and say, well, my cost
Mhm.
per incident is maybe $300 on this particular product for every incident. I can then calculate by product, hey, this is where AI stepped in and
Mhm.
provided an actual monetary value
Mhm.
to that experience, while marrying that with the CSAT to ensure that I'm not having frustration with my customers
Mhm.
who are feeling like I'm stuck in AI. I can't talk to a human, right? That's the
Mhm.
exact opposite of what I want. I want
Yeah.
it to make it effortless for the
Mhm.
customer so that they can effortlessly self-serve
Mhm.
utilizing AI. And if AI is not giving you what you want, you've got an eject button. You can talk to a human at any point in that interaction, and we're
Mhm.
not there to frustrate you. We're here to make it easy
Mhm.
for you, right? So we track also at the close of every incident when a human is involved. We ask for an effort score, and we do
Mhm.
track the effort score and the effortless
Mhm.
experience within the customers, and that brings a lot of data to me that I can help make decisions on. Is what we're implementing behind the AI processes really yielding what a customer's after? And I get 10,000 responses a year on that, right? So I
Mm,
get a lot of
mm,
customer replies in that vein that allows me to really see,
mm,
am I delivering what I want, and am I delivering what my customers want at the end of the day with the AI implementation?
mhm. Excellent. Now, as we finish up, I'm curious what you're thinking as AI agents are increasingly rolling out. So over the course of the next year, it's very clear that the next stage will be agent of AI, where AI is able to replace more and more activities that customer support staff were previously able to do. What's your vision and what are your thoughts about where you're heading in the next year?
Yeah, in the next year, I want those agents that are going to be AI centric. We've not gotten there yet, but we are definitely intending
Mhm,
on being there by next year,
mhm,
where there's going to be a chat agent that my vision is that that chat agent is there
mhm,
to relieve the complexity of that customer experience.
mhm,
And today, for example, when a customer opens an incident, they're going to have to manually enter. Well, here's the product that's I'm submitting against. Here's the version that I'm submitting against. Here's my tenant information. Here's what the issue was. I want that AI agent to be knowing everything about that customer right up
mhm,
front, meeting the customer better where the issue is actually
mhm,
at. So if it's a hosted customer, it knows what's been reported within that
mhm,
environment, what we're actually tracking within that environment potentially as known issues. If we have a service degradation and I have a customer
mhm,
that's wanting to reach out to my team requesting some information around the service degradation, well, I can have that chatbot take on that effort. I can have
mhm,
that AI agent know who the customer is, what tenant are you a part of, what landscape are you
mhm,
in, are you impacted by this known issue? And then giving that customer abilities to self-serve and say, yes, you got it correct. I am
mhm,
impacted by it. Great. The AI agent would then take it and say, I will notify you as soon as we know that the issue
mhm,
has been resolved. I will make sure you get a root cause analysis and official RCA and what led to the degradation, et cetera. Right. It's those
mhm,
kind of lower effort use cases that I see as bringing the most value.
mhm,
Now, when it goes beyond just a, hey, am I impacted in a landscape issue versus I think I'm experiencing something unique to me,
mhm,
that's where I need that AI to facilitate that effortless warm handover to the human.
mhm,
And I need that to help generate what it thinks as next best steps. So
mhm,
it gathers the information from the customer. It then will effortlessly and seamlessly engage that human experience and say, based off of my information, based off of what I've asked the customer to include for logging, for example, if they're maybe troubleshooting a premise related issue, the
mhm,
customer's attached this log, and this log. I think the issues are here, here, and here. And then it better prepares that human to step in to meet that customer where the issue's
mhm,
at. Because what frustrates me the most in my role today, especially in that support interaction,
mhm,
is the back and forth with my teams where I'm going to
mhm,
send the customer now 20 questions, and that's an exaggeration. Maybe it's 10 questions of, I need to know this, I need to know that. When did the issues start? How many users are
mhm,
impacted? What's the actual business impact end to end? What are you trying to accomplish? There's a lot of that data
mhm,
that makes me, one, just say, hey, why don't you just pick up the phone and call the customer to
mhm,
get this information? But two, can the AI chatbot
mhm,
and the AI agent help bring that information more up front for us so that we're ready to go?
mhm.
We've got the issue, clear line of sight of what the problem is. And now I've got my subject matter expertise that can come in and apply the knowledge and make sure that we're applying the right fix to the issue.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Sterling. That's a great vision, and I appreciate you sharing more broadly about what you're doing with customer support. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps other people discover the show, it helps us improve the show. And if you have any questions, as always, email me at gleb, Gleb, at disasteravoidanceexperts.com.